Software suites. These are magical. These are really nice introduction to the VNX line. Why software? Why are you excited about software suites? Well, it prevents software paralysis, right? You got tons of features on the VNX itself. As a customer, I don't want to have to go through and pick out what I need. Now, this puts more purchasing power or more decision making, I guess, in the power of of the consumer, of the individual that's buying the array itself. Because now you can just look at these 5 suites, and there's 5 of them, and say, do I want to do local protection? I do. Well, local protection suite, check. Do I want to do remote protection? Do I want to replicate this data offsite to another array? Yes? All right, I need the remote protection suite. It's very simple. You ask yourself simple questions and you get a simple software suite to match it. Okay, as I mentioned, simple approach to software consumption. Now this is all based on suites and bundle packs. 5 suites, 2 bundle packs. So what suites are available? Fast suite. Okay, this is the fully automated storage tiering suite. We'll go over what these individual suites encompass here in just in some of these subsequent slides here. The security and compliance suite, local protection suite, remote protection suite, and finally the application protection suite. These are the 5 that allow you to purchase software on the VNX itself. The first suite itself is the fast suite. What does this include? This includes fast, which is fully automated storage tiering. This gives you the ability to tier in 1 gig slices your data within a LUN between different RAID types and different disk types. So storage pools are kind of the entity that allow you to do this. Now, fast itself, that capability is not provided on traditional RAID groups, so you have to be in storage pools. And if you ask EMC, that is the future, and I would agree with them. The storage pools really are the better approach when it comes to divvying out capacity to your servers itself. You have to do that with fast. You have to do that at the pool level. Now, the beautiful thing about the latest version of VNX OE code is that now you have the capability of doing different RAID types within the storage pool, and you can do different disk types within the same storage pool. Hugely beneficial, right? Especially if this data is moved, it's moved up into higher performance disks, or if it's moved down to lower performance disks. You want those capabilities because you're going to have different levels of rating that support different types of disks. For instance, RAID 6. You really want RAID 6 with your higher capacity drives. The number one reason is if you have a 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte nearline SAS drive in a, let's say, a 5-disk RAID 5 configuration, normally called a 4+1. If you lose a drive within that RAID group, you're exposed at that point. So RAID 5 configuration, if you lose a drive and you have a hot spare, what's called a hot spare, that hot spare is subbed in. Data is copied to that hot spare in replacement of the failed drive with the parity that exists on the other 4 drives in that example. While that is rebuilding, as the process is called, you could lose another drive within that RAID 5 RAID group. If you lose another drive before that rebuild takes place, you have now lost all the data that exists across that RAID group. Hence, they tell you that with the larger capacity drive, you should use RAID 6. RAID 6 can survive a double disk failure within a single RAID group. And it's to combat that example that I just gave you, that if you're doing a rebuild, it's implied that the rebuilds are going to take longer with the higher capacity drives. You're saving yourself from a double disk failure with the RAID 6 configuration. Now, the reason I mention all this is that when we were doing pool designs originally, you have to pick a RAID type per storage pool prior to the latest release of VNX OE code. So if I wanted to create a RAID 5 storage pool, that's exactly what it was. It was RAID 5. It didn't matter if I had nearline SAS drives in that storage pool. I was still defined to one RAID level or another per storage pool. That's not the case anymore. It's gotten a lot better. Storage pools are really, really nice now. It's gotten great. Fast cache is a way to extend your DRAM cache to your flash drives. It's secondary caching tier. We have a lesson on caching itself, so we'll talk a little bit about fast cache in that lesson. But fast cache is great. I mean, it is the almost a great equalizer. Now, it is It is catered, or it works better with reads rather than writes, but writes can benefit from fast cache as well. It is global in nature, so you can turn it on at the per storage pool basis, and you can turn it on a per LUN basis with traditional RAID group LUNs. Okay, so very useful technology. If you're buying a VNX itself, you really want to buy it with even the most minimum amount of fast cache. It makes a huge difference in the array itself. Unisphere Analyzer. This is a way to monitor the performance of the array itself. Now, if you're familiar with the Clarion line, and maybe you're familiar with the VNX line, and you're just getting more information from this lesson, you're familiar with NAR data. Okay, you're familiar maybe even with NAS data. So this is an extension on the array itself, and this has been around forever on the Clarion and the VNX. This is the type of file extension, the type of data that you're capturing when you're dumping performance data to a file for transport, and either transport to a partner for them to be able to read the performance of your array, or for transport to EMC for them to be able to troubleshoot a problem. That data, that performance data, is in the form of a NAR file or a NAS file. Okay, the NAR file means that you have Unisphere Analyzer enabled on the array itself, and therefore you can read that data from within Unisphere, which is how you're managing the array. If you do not have Analyzer installed on the array, it comes in the form of a NAS file, which means it's encrypted. Now, we, as a partner, and all partners have this, they have the ability to decrypt that data, and obviously EMC does as well. They have the ability to decrypt that data and then import it into formats that make it a little more consumable and viewable as to the performance of your array. Very useful, without getting too long-winded, very useful feature analyzer. So if you are purchasing a VNX at some point, make sure that, and you're probably going to buy the fast suite anyway because you're going to get fast cache and fast itself. Make sure that technology, that feature is enabled on the array itself. Unisphere Quality of Service Manager. This gives you the way to QoS your LUNs and your traffic on the array itself. Certainly not something that I'm real familiar with because we just don't utilize it a lot in most of our customers' environments. But that is part of the fast suite itself. Now you also notice at the bottom right here, I've got total efficiency, total protection, a la carte. What that means is that you have two packs that are available with all these suites: the total efficiency pack, the total protection pack. Okay, the fast suite itself is available in the total efficiency pack. Okay, and it's also available a la carte. So you certainly don't need to buy the packs; you could just buy it straight up. Security and Compliance Suite, probably the least familiar from my perspective. This will enable you to do antivirus from the NAS perspective. So this is an OS-less, if you will, system that actually runs on the data movers themselves. There's no Windows. It is a flavor of Linux, but it doesn't have the ability to be able to install per se antivirus software, traditional antivirus software on the data movers. In that case, you would want to use the event enabler, and you would integrate with a third-party antivirus provider to be able to scan those file systems for viruses. It's also quota management and auditing capabilities that are part of the event enabler as well. File level retention, this is worm capabilities. This gives you the ability to really lock the state of a file on the file system itself. Okay, so it prevents tinkering, it prevents the ability to modify particular files based on these retention levels you've set on the files themselves. Host encryption, that's also a part of the security and compliance suite. Probably the least utilized suite that I've seen in my travels. This is a part of the total efficiency pack, and it is available a la carte as well. Oh, local protection. This is one of my favorites, and going along with local protection is the remote protection suite as well. Another one of my favorites. Now this includes VNX snapshots, which is new to the latest VNX OE block code. This is on the block side, okay, and I'll break it out into where each of these technologies fits from a file or block perspective. VNX snapshots, that is block related. It is really the next generation of snapshots. And it is new to the latest line, so I don't have a lot of information to tell you about it. What its predecessor was SnapView. So SnapView gives you the ability to snap via snapshots and clone your LUNs. And this is all at the block level. It uses a copy on first write mechanism. So you probably heard reserve LUN pools and things like that. That's where SnapView comes into play. VNX Snapshots it kind of takes it to another level. It does things quite differently from what I've heard than SnapView. SnapSure gives you the ability to do checkpoints on your file systems on the data mover side. So this will be on the file side itself. So if you wanted to checkpoint your data for recoverability, and what's really cool about SnapSure is that you can do the previous versions client, where you can go in there and you can route to a file path, a UNC path with the .ckpt extension, and you can see all your point in times for a particular file system. This will be from a sys perspective. You'll be able to get to that .ckpt. Very cool technology, very much needed in a lot of scenarios. If you trusted your end users to be able to recover files, you could use SnapSure and checkpoints in the previous versions client to be able to accomplish that. RecoverPoint SE, continuous data protection. This is local journaling based data protection. So from a replication perspective, this gives you the ability to capture every single write and store that locally on the array itself. RecoverPoint is really certainly the technologies that I'm very familiar with, and it really is the future as far as my perspective and what I've read and seen of where EMC is taking data protection to. You've probably heard of mirror view, and we'll get into that in the next protection suite. A lot of these capabilities and data protection type technologies are now they're still available, and ultimately going to be cheaper because there is some physical hardware that's associated with RecoverPoint, but they are the better approach to data recoverability and being able to protect that data either locally or remotely. Local Protection Suite is available in the Total Efficiency Pack or a la carte. Remote Protection Suite. This includes a replicator, which gives you the ability to remote replicate your CIFS and your NFS data from the data mover perspective. So if you're wanting to replicate that data off of the VNX itself, and it has to be one of the unified arrays, obviously, then you will be using replicator from a data mover perspective. Okay, mirror view and CRR, which is continuous remote replication. These are block-based replication technologies. Okay, mirror view, just doesn't imply it's a mirroring technology. You can do async or sync. RecoverPoint SE, continuous remote replication. This option is typically used with Site Recovery Manager. If you're wanting to protect your production environment and fail it over to a DR environment, CRR is the technology on the RecoverPoint side you would utilize. Very cool technology. All of these are available in Total Efficiency, Total Protection packs, and a la carte. And finally is the Application Protection Suite. This is probably one that is utilized the least, although it's very powerful. You have what's called Replication Manager, which is a Windows application that doesn't really give you any new features per se. It really just orchestrates a lot of the technology that you have on the VNX itself. So it's able to schedule, and it's able to mount and create application consistent bookmarks and things of that nature on the array itself. You could script all this without Replication Manager itself. Replication Manager just gives you a nice interface to be able to do all this orchestration in your environment from a VNX perspective. Data Protection Advisor is a way to trend. It's basically an application that allows you to import information from the different EMC technologies you have into this product itself for trending over time. Now there's a lot of other things it could do. That's the primary use case. Very cool from what I've seen of it. We don't implement a lot of DPA, certainly more Replication Manager than DPA itself, but both very cool technologies. Everything in the Application Protection Suite is available in the Total Efficiency and the Protection Pack and a la carte. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.